Welcome back, everyone. This is part 5 of our series, Nate's Message to a Principal. Today, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen of America, we're going to talk about math, okay? Nate Jones was a super geek in high school. A's and B's is what I got on my grades. Finished with a 3.5, so I never messed around and I never found out when it comes to academic excellence. So let's go to math, y'all. My favorite subject, math. Now, everybody knows in this changing world, uh, it's all about numbers, right? Everything's about numbers. School, work, home, when you do your bills, when you make money, it's all about numbers. And we look at numbers, you make assessments, you evaluate, you see where things are going so that you can kind of project the future, right? Well, we're gonna post up some numbers after this video that I'm going to show you all, and just pay attention to the numbers in the video because the news station who gave this video, posted these numbers. That way, we can all see a reference point, right? In the 1960s, Dr. King was trying to integrate and give black folks more rights. Well, integration, 60 years from that, integration seemed to be not working. Many of you all may agree with that. Some of you might disagree. But when integration occurred, certain states and cities, they tried to re-segregate, right? So ever since the 60s, or should I say the 80s, is when the resegregation process was starting. So let's go ahead and pay attention to this video and these numbers.
Many have seen images from the 1950s of the chaos created when Brown versus the Board of Education ushered in the racial integration of America's schools. Those students on the front lines of the progress felt their fight would lead to more diverse classrooms and better opportunities for students of color. 70 years after that landmark court ruling, our country has a more racially diverse group of students, but many of America's schools have now resegregated. ABC's Ika Jachi explores what that means not only for current, but future students.
Just like millions of other high school students, Ava Pittman starts her journey to class taking the bus. But that's where the similarities end. You see, this daily trip starts long before first period, just after dawn breaks.
I used to live in Forest Hill, so it was like a 15-minute walk, but now it is probably an hour and 30 minutes on the bus.
Every morning, Ava makes the 14-mile, hour-and-a-half journey through Queens from Far Rockaway to Elmhurst, just to get to her school, MELS, the Metropolitan Expeditionary Learning School.
I have English first period, I have music after, and then I have pre-calc, which is going to be strenuous. And then after my last class, we have speech and debate practice. So we have practice till around 5:15, and I probably won't be home until around like 6:37, depending on how long I have to wait for the bus, the delays. Hopefully anytime before 7 I'll be happy with. And then I have to do homework, shower, eat, go to bed.
What are the schools like around your neighborhood in Far Rockaway compared to the schools around MELS in Elmhurst?
Schools in certain places like Far Rockaway, the resources are minimal. It's just the quality of education, it's different. I do a lot of things that are like inside the school that I couldn't take with me to another place, if that makes sense. I co-founded an affinity group called BAM, which is Black at Mel's. I'm also part of Education Student Advisory Council. My speech and debate team is the most diverse in our league. There's a lot of Latino people in my school, and then Black, and then white, and then Asian.
The opportunities available to Ava are geographically unique, but just to receive it, most of her day is taken up by her commute. Schools in the U.S. remain deeply divided along racial, ethnic, and economic lines, even as studies show that the K-12 public school population is becoming more diverse.
My elementary school, when I moved to Forest Hills, was very white, and it was like me and I think 3 or 4 other Black kids, and like I struggled with finding people that looked like me and like resonating with what was being taught to me, especially because there were no Black teachers.
Take me to a world where Ava never left and always went to school around home. What do you think her school experience would have been like in that world?
Honestly, I think she's become a stronger advocate because she got to see the other side from a very young age. You know, we talked about Black history. We talked about the importance of her identity and how she operates in spaces. But she got to see that everyone doesn't have that.
70 years ago, the landmark Brown versus the Board of Education ruling was supposed to make schools more diverse, declaring separating children in schools on the basis of race unconstitutional and ushering in integration efforts. But according to the latest U.S. Government Accountability Office investigation of K-12 education, schools are becoming highly segregated again. More than a third of students attend schools where 75% or more students are of a single race or ethnicity. In 1957, 3 years after the Brown versus the Board of Education ruling, the NAACP attempted to enroll 9 Black students at Little Rock Central High School. The ensuing chaos gripped the nation, and it became known to the media as the Little Rock Nine.
The first day is actually significant because it is a mirror image of all the other days. We were beaten and pushed and shoved, that stuff was thrown on us, we were kicked around. But as I said before, we had taken a vow of nonviolence. We chose not to fight.
The governor of Arkansas at the time prevented the students from entering the racially segregated school, using his state's National Guard for help. After weeks of failed attempts to safely get the students through a full day of classes, President Eisenhower intervened.
Our enemies are gloating over this incident and using it everywhere to misrepresent our whole nation.
Those students today disappointed how much work still needs to be done.
Over these 60-plus years, all the achievements that we have made here in this country is now being taken away from us. And if young people don't stand up and stop some of this process and strategize as to how they're going to go about changing these things, or at least put some rudders to what is being changed by others, we're in a mess here.
When you look at American history, what you will find is a consistent willingness to support segregated society. That is the main focus, but you can't stop working for it in any case. Right. You have to be fully aware that unless you have superhuman powers, how are you going to change it?
Unfortunately, we have come away from our commitment to the spirit of Brown. Schools have been resegregating rapidly since the 1980s. So let's think about designing for diversity.
Saba Burita co-founded Brown's Promise alongside Ari Amerikaner. It's an initiative working to combat racial segregation and honor the legacy of the Little Rock Nine students.
Why are our schools still segregated today? It's multi-faceted, big question. I think it is largely because we don't talk about it. We can't and we won't fix what we don't talk about and recognize.
Following the landmark Brown versus the Board decision, students started getting bused into schools from different neighborhoods to promote integration. But much of that stopped. Starting in 1980, costly busing orders began to expire. And with a history of housing discrimination leading many neighborhoods to be segregated by race, for millions of students, going to the public school closest to your home means it won't be racially diverse. Despite the billions of dollars invested to desegregate public schools over the last few decades, today, school segregation is back at the same level it was in the 1960s.
School segregation is persistent, and it plagues us across the country and across the years, unfortunately. I wish I could say there was a place that had solved it.
According to data collected by the Department of Education, between 2022 and 2023, amongst 100,000 public schools across the country, about 83% of black public school students and 82% of Latino students attended a majority non-white school. At the same time, 75% of white public school students were enrolled in a majority white school.
We talk a lot about the importance of school integration to the health of our democracy. Students who continually are growing up in segregated environments are not interacting with people from different backgrounds. So when they get into higher ed or they get into their careers, and they've never worked with someone who was from a different race or a different socioeconomic background, that causes friction.
That's such a great point.
At a recent conference in Baltimore, Saba and Ari met with education leaders to discuss solutions. Educators are making a major push toward public magnet schools, in particular, which offer specialized courses and programs designed to attract a more diverse student body.
They offer theme programming that you can't get in other schools, and students and families find that valuable. And what they in particular find important is the opportunity to go to a school that's integrated, where students can learn alongside students from different racial, ethnic, socioeconomic backgrounds, and they engage in a pluralistic society in a way that they wouldn't otherwise be prepared to do if they were in a traditional public school.
Ava, even at a young age, is also fighting for diversity and, most importantly, integration in public schools. She's a youth advocacy director at Integrate NYC, a youth-led organization aimed at creating equity in New York City schools.
Power to the youth, yeah.
Integrate NYC is currently in a legal battle with New York State. According to the Civil Rights Project, New York is one of the most diverse states in the nation, yet at the same time, one of the most segregated. In the lawsuit against the state, Integrate NYC claims the sorting and admission process in New York City schools forces students of color to be channeled into the most overcrowded and under-resourced schools across the city. The New York City Department of Education sent us a statement saying, in part, we agree with the plaintiffs that achieving those educational goals is made harder by the complex system of biases, inequities deeply rooted in this country's history, culture, and institutions, a system that we also want to change. But this lawsuit is not the answer. We are prepared to defend against these claims in court. Ava is even taking her fight from the streets of New York City to the halls of Washington, D.C., speaking on a student-led panel during Attorney General Merrick Garland's remarks on the 70th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Ed.
The doctrine of separate but equal has no place.
Moderated by Brown's promise.
Majority black and brown schools will lack resources. They won't have AP classes. They won't have sports teams.
Educators and integration advocates have tried for years to get the federal government to have a bigger role in supporting school desegregation. A spokesperson for the U.S. Department of Education sent us a statement saying, in part, the department has supported voluntary school integration through local partnerships with parents, educators, and communities, addressed disparities in funding and resources for schools, and issued guidance and funding to support a more diverse educator workforce.
So many people here today. You changed the world.
The Biden administration announced last year they'd created a new $10 million grant to fund school integration efforts, just a small portion of the $100 million the administration has tried to get Congress to put towards this effort. Unless something is done to improve school integration, Ava, like thousands of other students across the country, will have to keep fighting for their education and the opportunities that come with it. How do you fix this here in New York City? Can you, and what does that actually look like?
Young people are the only people in New York City, like high schools, public schools. So we need to listen to our demands because they're very important. And we shape the future.
examining another aspect of education. Our thanks to Ike Ejiochi for that.
So 100,000 public schools, ladies and gentlemen, between 2022 and 23 were 75% white. This was students who attended a majority white school. So this particular exhibit, let's call it Exhibit A, pretty much shows you, where the migration is going to. Amen. Of course, people feel comfortable with their own kind. Amen. Just think of the animal kingdom. Zebras feel comfortable with zebras. Hyenas with hyenas. Lions with lions, right? It's an animal kingdom. We're above animals, but we still have the superficiality, if that makes sense. Amen. Superficiality, and we see the process of resegregation in America. And once you look at this, 100,000 public schools between 2022 and 23, 83% black. Of that in a majority non-white school, and my Latino brothers, 82%. Oh my goodness, in a non-white school. What is going on, America? Of course, we've seen attempts to integrate Americans, but in 2024, according to Nate Jones, it's not working, because even here in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, which is right next to New Orleans, Americans, Jefferson Parish, it's next to New Orleans. It's where the saints practice. America. Jefferson Parish. You see that segregation. You have some schools, that are majority white in the same parish. Some are majority Spanish, like Meisler. Meisler is I think is a D school. It's majority Spanish. Great kids. I even met the band at Meisler. Great band conductor, director at Meisler. But it's mostly Spanish kids there, right? And if you go to other schools, it's majority black, right? So we've seen it, a slow regression of going back to segregation. Now, is that choice of black parents or white parents or Hispanic parents? Or is it the white population, the white parents and administration and school board, are they orchestrating this resegregation? Just a little mathematics for y'all, right? Percentages, we talk about percentages in mathematics. Percentages is very important for kids to learn, even when they take LEAP tests or ACT tests. They got to know percentages. Ladies and gentlemen, these numbers I've shown you, these are pretty big numbers. I mean, we're not talking like 68, 69%. We're talking 75% on the white side and 80, almost mid 80s for the black community and the Latino community. So what do you say about that, America? We're slowly going back to resegregation. I'm not saying that this whole Dr. King movement was a scam to get white people to integrate with black people. I'm not saying it's a scam, but as a college graduate, I'm saying, educated man, it's not working, right? Maybe the whites don't want the blacks around them. Maybe the blacks don't want the whites around them. Maybe the Spanish folks feel the same way. Maybe the Asian folks feel some kind of way, right? So, what if we just say, how about we just differentiate the Skittles, the Starbursts, and the M&Ms, right? Because America, that's where it looked like it is going. correct? Like we also have bar graphs, circle graphs, and line graphs in mathematics, right? When you talk about statistics. Just think about where the numbers are going, America. Imagine America in 2030. I really don't want to imagine that. You heard me? Because if things are rough now in America, in a very big election year with all this stuff going on, coming out of a pandemic, and people vaccinated and people just dying left and right. Can you imagine 2030? So, America, how about we just continue this process, right? It's not my fault. This process started way before I was born, 1980, right? So, why don't we just segregate again, America? Why don't we just put the Skittles over here and let them do their thing? How about we put the Starbursts on this end, let them do their thing, and the other candy, put them on the other end, right? Put all the candies where they belong. Starburst to the Starburst, Skittles to the Skittles, M&Ms to M&Ms, right? How about that? If we do that, wouldn't it make sense, y'all? Make the Spanish schools, because, you know, how many people speak Spanish other than Spanish people? Amen. Put the Spanish people in one area, put the blacks in one area, and put the whites in one area, right? And don't have any token students, right, Karen? Like, you know, are we going to have these sundown schools? Think about it, America. Oh, shoot. B squared minus 4AC, aka the discriminant. America, maybe we should apply this formula and make discriminants in the school system. M&M's over here, Skittles over there, and how about Starburst in its own corner? B squared minus 4 times AC. You heard?